and thank you for being here, each of you. So the theme today is transformation. The theme for the year is align. And the title of my talk, What We Resist Persists. My highest teacher, a particular deity form, back, 25 years ago or something, taught that what you resist persists, and said that that was a law in the universe. A law in the universe. Imagine that. What we resist persists. So I didn't understand it at the time, and I contemplated it here and there, and occasionally got a glimpse of it in my life. So, and the teaching is undoubtedly much, much deeper than whatever my understanding is, but let me share something about my understanding, in the hopes that it's helpful for you. So along with this, I think an insight that I had quite a number of years ago, perhaps 30, might fit. I was looking out at a fresh snowfall. I was living in Ontario, and it was glistening white, fresh snow. And the phrase that came to me was, God's paintbrush never leaves the canvas. Isn't that beautiful? So that implies to me that we live in a constantly transformational world. Everything is continually being created by God's paintbrush, call it, all of the time. So now, in 1998, I was initiated as a weather worker in the Nahua tradition of Mexico. And I began to see that the weather beings, all the various beings that create weather, it was easier for me to see this notion of God's paintbrush not leaving the canvas with that. And so I'm going to share a little prayer that helps explain that. So, Mother Earth, I give thanks so much to you for all the gifts of life on this beautiful planet. And I especially give thanks to you to all the weather and the water beings, the lakes, the streams, the rivers, the swamps, and especially Grandmother Ocean. Grandmother Ocean, I thank you for your great generosity, your great depth, your great wisdom. Father Sun, I thank you so much for giving us light and heat and energy and bringing us forth from Mother Earth's womb. Sun and ocean, you make love, and when you do, you bring forth cloud babies. And these cloud babies travel on wind's wings to the corners of the land, bringing water and abundant life to the trees of the forest, to the plants, the animals, and all the people. I thank you for this great symphony that brings forth life for all beings and contributes and nourishes life for all beings. So perhaps we can see that with all these weather beings working together in that kind of harmony, that it's perhaps easier to see that that's a constant transformation, right? Little harder to see that in our own lives, I suspect. But what if we could allow wind's wings to carry us where we're meant to go? And maybe wind's wings, from a human perspective, is the spirit. Spirit is often referred to as in the winds. So how could we allow spirit to flow through us and move us in our lives where we're individually meant to go? and not resist. The clouds don't say, hey, wind, back off, right? So how could we be? So are there places we resist this kind of being moved by spirit? We all came here to contribute in some way. We're all part of this great symphony. So I want to share a little story how I saw where I was resisting very recently. So in my spiritual path, I received guidance in 1997 to teach people about prayer. Well, I didn't know much myself at the time, but I got taken on a path to learn, and eventually began teaching in 2000 with guidance and a format for teaching from the elemental spirit of fire, which is our heart energy, spoken through a shaman, an elder shaman in Mexico. So I taught for, now 26 years, and in 5 countries, and with hundreds of people. And the core basis of prayer, as I was taught, is the experience of connection, connecting our spirit with the spirit that's alive in nature. And report after report after report, I started noticing, was that it was a reciprocally loving experience. People experienced feeling love for the rock, the tree, the plant, the stream, and feeling the plant, the rock, the tree, the stream's love back to them. And that was healing. And the tree, the rock, the plant, the stream, the fire, whatever, gave them guidance as well. So it was helpful, very helpful on their path. Well, and I had my own experiences of that as well, of course. After 15 years of teaching, I had a special experience in my prayer time one morning. I was shown an image of our spiraling universe, accompanied by the words, "Love is round." And I understood immediately that love is round is the design of our universe, and therefore our design as well. I also understood that it was affirming all these experiences people shared when they connected their spirit with the spirit alive in nature. Love is in the field. It's reciprocal. It's relational. It's mutual. It's what we're made of. So it affirmed my work. And I understood it also as a very, very empowering context for a spiritual journey, that we can deepen and deepen into this experience of our love connection. So through a shaman that I was working with, he told me that the deity that gave me that experience was inviting me to become a pilgrim, a particular pilgrim, kind of pilgrim, so that deity could help me with my work. So I accepted and applied and was approved. And in 2019, when I was there on my pilgrimage, I got a lot of messages, start a movement or continue a movement already started. So, okay, now I've got my purpose for the rest of my life, right? But that was daunting, start a movement. But anyway, I got home and I started sharing that with people, and I started doing a little research. How do you start a movement? And I wrote a little book that I thought was part of the movement. It's a very small little book. And in the meantime, after a couple of years, I got some guidance that I've learned what I needed to learn on that path that I'd been on for 26 years, and that it was time to leave that path and focus on my own work. Well, I made an assumption that my own work, my primary own work, was lead a movement, a love is round movement. So I left that path and again continued to do some research and talk to some people and try and figure some things out. And it was daunting. I'm not a person with a whole lot of money, and I'm not a person with a whole lot of fame, so how does a person like me start a movement? Well, what I found was that it was increasingly, I was getting distracted, and every night I'd go, wow, again, I didn't get anything done on the movement, and again, and again, and again, every night kind of thing. And a few weeks ago, I began to have conversations with this shaman that had helped me back a few years before. And I learned through him that because I quit that pilgrimage, that deity no longer had an obligation to help me with the movement. I broke the deal. I broke that arrangement. So coming to terms with that was really challenging. I certainly shed some tears, and I thought, how could I have been so stupid, and all those kinds of things. And but the process of grieving and looking and so on helped me to come to terms with it, and I realize now that I've come to terms with that, I'm actually pretty happy that I don't have the monumental task of building a movement, and my work still helps people connect their spirit with the spirit alive in nature. So I'm still helping this field of love. I'm still contributing in that way, and so I've kind of come to terms with that, and I realize now that now, was I supposed to quit or wasn't I supposed to quit? I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever know. I felt like I was supposed to. I felt like that was the right guidance, but it had a different consequence. But now I can tell you that I feel happy, I feel relieved, and there is once again movement with my work. So it's not like there's any mistakes, really. But I spent, 3 years or something wondering, why am I stuck? Why can't this thing move forward? Why am I so stupid? Or why, I kept blaming myself for being distracted and all those kinds of things. But what if I had just been able to be in this flow before? Well, we are when we are, right? So how might it be for you in your own life? Are there places where you are feeling a little stuck, not very inspired, not moving with joy in a certain domain of your life? Where is the flow? Where is that place where it sings for you, where you're part of a symphony? You're playing the role you came here to play. I have a little quote I want to share I came across. That was the year she cleared out all her old ideas of things until she could hear her own joy with almost no effort at all. Brian Andreas. So perhaps, have we got a little bit of time? We've got maybe even a minute or two each, if you want to pair up with somebody and just share if you see anything in your own life where maybe you could allow some flow, some ease, the wind of spirit to guide you along. Thank you.